In life, there are battles we don't see coming. Silent attacks from those who manipulate, deceive, and drain our energy without remorse. These aren't just bad habits. They're toxic behaviors that erode our peace and leave us questioning our own reality. Today, we'll uncover the subtle warning signs of these destructive individuals and how you can protect yourself before it's too late. Watch until the end to arm yourself with the tools of Stoicism and reclaim your peace. If any of this strikes a chord, share your story below. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights on mastering life's challenges. Number 1. Constant manipulation. Have you ever found yourself agreeing to something only to later wonder how you were convinced? This is the insidious nature of manipulation. It's not about force, it's about subtle persuasion, quiet guiding of your thoughts and actions until you're moving to someone else's rhythm without even realizing it. Think about that friend who always seems to get their way in a group decision, suggesting restaurants, movies, or plans that somehow always align with their preferences. What's truly happening? They're bending the situation to their will, while you believe you're making a choice. Manipulation is like playing a game where the rules constantly shift, but only your opponent knows how. According to Dr. Harry Breaker, manipulation is about indirect control, pulling strings from behind the scenes to ensure the outcome benefits the manipulator. It's a skill that those with narcissistic and Machiavellian tendencies often excel in, as shown in studies published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." Freedom requires awareness, knowing when someone is attempting to bind you with unseen chains. Manipulators use tactics like emotional blackmail, making you feel guilty for not complying, or gaslighting, making you doubt your own reality. They may even play the victim, drawing sympathy to sidestep responsibility and shift the burden onto you. So how do you escape these invisible traps? First, recognize the patterns. These behaviors are the hallmarks of manipulation. Set boundaries firmly, understanding that a simple no is a powerful defense. Trust your gut. When something feels off, don't dismiss it. Seek the counsel of those you trust to gain perspective, as manipulation thrives in isolation. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us in Meditations, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Protect your mind by staying vigilant and informed. While not every manipulative act comes from a place of malice, the impact is the same. Your task is to safeguard your peace, to see through the fog of manipulation, and to reclaim control over your decisions. Finally, remember what Shakespeare wrote in Hamlet, "Give thy thoughts no tongue." In other words, maintain your own counsel. Don't let others dictate your path. You have the strength to recognize and resist manipulation. Stand firm, keep your mind clear, and choose your own course with confidence. Number 2. Art of never apologizing. The refusal to apologize is not just a bad habit, it's a calculated defense mechanism. Picture this. You're in a heated debate at a family dinner, and despite being shown clear evidence that they're wrong, someone refuses to back down. Instead, they shift the blame, concoct an excuse, or simply pretend the error never happened. This is the art of never apologizing, an art rooted in fear, insecurity, and the desperate need to protect one's ego. Plato once said, "The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself." But those who never apologize are in a constant battle with themselves, terrified of admitting their flaws. This refusal is like building a fortress of pride, brick by brick, until it becomes impenetrable, even to reason. It's as if they've created an alternate reality where they're always right, a place where admitting fault is synonymous with defeat. The Stoics, however, teach us that true strength lies not in never making mistakes, but in owning them. Seneca reminds us, it is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. To be unconquerable means to be resilient, flexible, and willing to face the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. So how do you deal with someone who refuses to apologize? First, recognize that their refusal is not a reflection of your worth, but a sign of their own inner turmoil. You can't force someone to take responsibility, but you can choose how you respond. Set clear boundaries. Let them know that while you won't force an apology, you also won't tolerate being dismissed. And most importantly, lead by example. Show that owning up to mistakes doesn't diminish you, it elevates you. Imagine a tree standing tall despite the wind that bends its branches. That's the power of humility. Acknowledging when you're wrong allows you to grow, to strengthen your roots, and to weather the storms of life with grace. Remember, the true test of character isn't in never falling, but in how quickly you rise after each stumble. So the next time you face someone who won't apologize, remember, you have the power to choose integrity over pride. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, a great man is always willing to be little. Be the bigger person, and let your actions speak louder than their silence. Number 3. Lack of empathy. Lack of empathy is not just a personality flaw, it's a fundamental barrier to human connection. Imagine sitting in a cafe, sharing a story of personal struggle with someone you consider a friend, only to be met with a blank stare, or worse, dismissive comment. This isn't just a lack of interest, it's a lack of empathy, coldness that makes genuine connection impossible. Aristotle once said, "Man is by nature a social animal, and the glue that binds us together is empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Without it, relationships become hollow, mere transactions devoid of warmth and trust." This is why a lack of empathy is so damaging. It creates a chasm between individuals, an invisible wall that prevents true understanding and support. You may recognize someone who lacks empathy through their indifference to the pain of others, their inability to grasp perspectives other than their own, or their frequent insensitive remarks. These are the telltale signs of a person whose emotional world is limited, cannot extend their feelings beyond themselves. Study by the University of Michigan shows a stark decline in empathy among younger generations, a trend that signals a growing epidemic of emotional disconnection. But how do you protect yourself from this emotional void? First, don't internalize their coldness. Understand that their lack of empathy says more about their limitations than about your worth. Second, set clear boundaries. Don't allow their detachment to erode your own sense of compassion. Lead by example. Demonstrate the empathy you wish to see, even if it's not returned. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, what we do now echoes in eternity. Your actions, no matter how small, have the power to inspire change, even in those who seem impervious to it. Empathy is like a fire. It spreads warmth when it's shared. Be the person who kindles that flame, who refuses to let the coldness of others freeze their heart. When you encounter someone lacking empathy, see it for what it is, a sign of their own inner barrenness. Your strength lies in maintaining your warmth, in choosing to be the person who feels, who understands, and who cares, despite the indifference of others. This isn't just a choice. It's a reflection of your character, a testament to the kind of person you strive to be. Number 4. Constant creation of conflicts. Constant conflict is not just a nuisance. It's a deliberate tactic used by those who thrive in turmoil. Picture this. You're in a group project at work. Everything is running smoothly, and suddenly one person starts sowing discord. They pit team members against each other, stir up unnecessary debates, and create tension where there was none. This is not accidental. It's a calculated move by someone who cannot stand peace, because peace threatens their need for control and attention. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca observed, "He who angers you, conquers you." Those who perpetually create conflict aim to dominate the emotional landscape, making everyone dance to the erratic tune they play. They are like puppeteers, pulling strings to see others jump, delighting in the chaos they create. But how do you spot these instigators before their toxic influence takes hold? Look for the patterns. They always seem to find a problem where none existed, and they escalate minor issues into major conflicts. They are the ones who turn a simple discussion into a battleground, leaving you wondering how things spiraled out of control so quickly. So, how do you protect yourself from these conflict creators? First, practice the art of detachment. Do not let their provocations draw you in. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, advises us to maintain control over our reactions, reminding us that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By staying calm, you deny them the satisfaction of you lose your composure. Second, seek out allies, those who value harmony and can help you maintain a steady course. Surround yourself with people who, like you, Refuse to be swayed by the winds of unnecessary drama. Together, you can create a buffer zone of peace that is impenetrable to their attempts at disruption. Finally, remember that you do not have to engage in every battle they present. As the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu wrote, "He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still." Mastery over your own emotions and reactions is the key to withstanding their onslaught. In the end, it's about recognizing the signs early, seeing the brewing storm before it hits, and choosing not to let it disturb your inner peace. Don't be the puppet in their show. Instead, be the steady rock in the stream of their chaos, letting the turbulent waters flow around you without ever being swept away. Number 5. Constant lying. Constant lying is not just an inconvenience. It's a systematic erosion of trust. Imagine for a moment you're in a long-term friendship where every conversation feels like a guessing game. You start to realize that stories change, details shift, and there's always a vague unease after each interaction. This is what happens when lies are woven into the fabric of daily life. Eventually, the entire relationship unravels. As Plato said, false words are not only evil in themselves, but they infect the soul with evil. A person who lies consistently is like a builder who replaces solid bricks with hollow ones. At first, the structure holds, but over time it weakens, and one day it collapses without warning. Lies, no matter how small, act like termites, silently eating away at the foundation of trust. The Stoics believed that living in accordance with truth is essential for a virtuous life. Epictetus teaches us, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. For a liar, this is an impossible task because their identity is always shifting, always uncertain, built on the unstable ground of deceit. But how can we as individuals committed to truth protect ourselves from the insidious nature of constant lying? First, recognize the signs: inconsistencies in stories, evasive answers, and a tendency to avoid direct eye contact. These are red flags, signaling that something is amiss. When you notice these patterns, don't dismiss them. Trust your intuition. It's often your most reliable guide in situations where the truth is obscured. Next, set boundaries. Acknowledge that you cannot change a compulsive liar, but you can control how much influence they have over your life. Limit your interactions and insist on transparency in your dealings with them. If they continue to lie, consider distancing yourself to protect your own integrity and peace of mind. Finally, remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Focus on what you can control. Can't stop someone else from lying, but you can ensure that your words and actions are grounded in truth. Be the solid brick in a world full of fragile facades. Your commitment to honesty not only strengthens your relationships, but also serves as a beacon for others who value integrity. In a world where deception often seems like the easier path, choosing truth is a radical act of courage. Let your life be a testament to that courage, and surround yourself with those who share your commitment to authenticity. As Aristotle once said, the high-minded man must care more for the truth than for what people think. Holding to the truth may expose you to criticism or challenge, but it's a stand that strengthens your character and earns genuine respect. By holding fast to the truth, you may face challenges. You will never be defeated by falsehoods. Number 6. Exaggerated reactions. Exaggerated reactions are more than just overblown responses. They are clear indicators of deeper issues lurking beneath the surface. Imagine working with someone who, at the slightest hint of critique, erupts like a volcano, spewing anger and defensiveness in every direction. This behavior isn't just inconvenient, it's a red flag that cannot be ignored. As Aristotle observed, anybody can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, and to the right degree, and at the right time and for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power and is not easy. Those who explode at even the smallest criticism reveal their inability to manage their emotions, exposing insecurities and a fragile sense of self-worth. In Stoicism, we are taught that our reactions are within our control, and that true strength lies in maintaining our composure, even when provoked. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, when faced with someone who reacts disproportionately, our power lies in choosing not to mirror their behavior, but instead to rise above it. How do you deal with someone whose emotional volatility shakes the foundation of every interaction? First, recognize the pattern. These outbursts are not about the immediate situation, they are a manifestation of something deeper. A defense mechanism against perceived threats to their identity. Understand that their reaction is not a reflection of your actions, but of their inner turmoil. Next, protect your own emotional well-being by setting clear boundaries. It's important to make it known that while you respect their feelings, you will not tolerate being the target of unwarranted aggression. This is like placing a shield between you and the storm, allowing you to stay calm and centered while the wind rages around you. Finally, practice and promote open communication. Encourage a culture where feedback is viewed as an opportunity for growth rather than an attack. By leading with patience and understanding, you can help diffuse the tension and guide the conversation back to a place of constructive dialogue. Remember, exaggerated reactions are like earthquakes, unpredictable and potentially destructive. But with the right preparation and mindset, you can navigate these emotional tremors without being thrown off balance. In a world where overreaction is common, your calm, measured response will set you apart as someone who not only survives the storm, but also stands firm in its wake. As Seneca said, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. By mastering your reactions, you protect your peace and foster a more stable, harmonious environment. Number 7. Protagonist syndrome. Protagonist syndrome is not just an ego-driven quirk. It's a deeply ingrained belief that the world exists to serve one's narrative. Imagine a colleague who always steers every conversation back to themselves, who sees your achievements not as your success, but as their opportunity to shine. This behavior is more than frustrating. It's a clear sign of protagonist syndrome, where the person casts themselves as the star in every scene, relegating everyone else to the background. As Epictetus wisely noted, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Those with protagonist syndrome are trapped in a self-centered worldview, unable to see beyond their own reflection. They crave admiration and attention, and they shape their reality to ensure they remain at the center of it. This constant need to be the focus can be exhausting for those around them, turning every interaction into a one-sided performance. Recognizing this syndrome is crucial. Look for signs like their tendency to dominate conversations, an insatiable need for praise, and a habit of downplaying others' contributions. Once you identify these traits, the next step is to protect your own space and sanity. First, establish firm boundaries. Let them know, respectfully but clearly, that you are not a supporting character in their play. If they try to overshadow your achievements or dismiss your feelings, don't be afraid to assert your perspective. This isn't about confrontation. It's about maintaining your dignity and ensuring that your voice is heard. Second, practice the art of disengagement. Protagonist syndrome feeds on attention, so don't give it more than necessary. Acknowledge their viewpoint, but steer the conversation back to a balanced exchange. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius advised, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Stay grounded and avoid getting drawn into their need for validation. Lastly, focus on common ground. While it's challenging, finding shared interests can help shift the dynamic. Even those with protagonist syndrome can connect meaningfully when they feel understood, but it requires patience and the ability to see through their ego-driven facade. In a world where everyone wants to be the hero of their own story, humility is a rare but powerful trait. By recognizing protagonist syndrome and responding with calm assertiveness, you not only protect your own peace, but also model a way of being that prioritizes genuine connection over self-aggrandizement. As Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." Don't let anyone else's need for the spotlight diminish your light. Number 8. The art of taking advantage of others. The art of taking advantage of others is a skill mastered by those who see relationships as transactions, not connections. Imagine you have a friend who only reaches out when they need something, whether it's a favor, a loan, or even just a listening ear. At first, it may seem harmless, but over time, you begin to notice a pattern. This is no coincidence. It's the calculated strategy of an opportunist. As Aristotle once said, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Yet an opportunist sees only the parts they can exploit for their gain. They are like chess players who view every interaction as a move on the board, willing to sacrifice others, whether it's your time, energy, or resources, to advance their position. But in the game of life, you don't have to be a pawn. Stoic philosophy teaches us to value integrity and reciprocity in our relationships. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If you allow yourself to be used repeatedly, it not only drains you, but also colors your perception of all relationships, fostering cynicism and distrust. So how do you protect yourself from being taken advantage of? First, recognize the signs. If someone consistently takes more than they give, or if every interaction seems to serve their agenda, it's time to reassess that relationship. Don't ignore the red flags. Pay attention to your gut feelings. Next, set clear boundaries. It's crucial to communicate your limits and not feel guilty for enforcing them. Just because someone asks doesn't mean you're obligated to comply. Like a fortress, your time and energy need to be protected, and not everyone deserves access. Finally, foster relationships that are built on mutual respect and reciprocity. Surround yourself with those who see you as an equal partner, not just a means to an end. As Epictetus reminds us, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. True wealth in life comes from relationships where giving and taking are balanced, and where both parties grow and benefit. By identifying and addressing the tactics of those who take advantage of others, you protect your peace and invest your time in connections that enrich rather than drain you. Remember, in a world full of opportunists, your greatest power lies in your ability to recognize their moves and choose not to play their game. Number 9. Constant lack of respect for boundaries. The constant lack of respect for boundaries is not just a nuisance, it's a direct challenge to your sense of self-worth. Imagine you've carefully cultivated a peaceful space in your life, a sanctuary where you can retreat and recharge. Now picture someone barging in uninvited, trampling over everything you've nurtured without a second thought. This is what it feels like when someone persistently ignores your boundaries. They see your personal space not as a sacred place, but as an open field for their whims. As Epictetus wisely noted, no man is free who is not master of himself. Boundaries are the markers of our autonomy, the lines that define where we end and another begin. But those who lack respect for these lines don't just cross them, they bulldoze through them, leaving you to pick up the pieces. How do you recognize someone who constantly disrespects your boundaries? They might disregard your need for privacy, interrupt your work repeatedly, or push your limits in social settings despite clear signals that they're overstepping. These are the people who, despite your best efforts, seem to have a knack for making you feel uncomfortable in your own space. So, what can you do? First, assert your boundaries with clarity. This isn't the time for subtle hints. Be direct and firm about what you will and will not tolerate. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius advised, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. In this context, being a good person means standing up for yourself with conviction. Next, be consistent. Don't waver in your enforcement of these boundaries, even if it feels uncomfortable. Allowing someone to cross the line once often opens the door for further violations, much like letting a small leak go unchecked until it floods the whole house. Your consistency is your strength. It shows that your boundaries are non-negotiable. Finally, prioritize your well-being. The Stoics teach us to control what we can and accept what we cannot. You cannot change someone else's behavior, but you can control your environment and your reaction. If someone continues to disregard your boundaries despite your best efforts, it might be time to distance yourself from them for your own peace of mind. Remember, your boundaries are more than just rules. They are a reflection of your values and your respect for yourself. Protect them fiercely, and don't allow anyone to diminish your sense of self. As Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." Keep what lies within you safe by ensuring that those who enter your space do so with respect. Number 10. Constant criticism. Constant criticism is like a slow poison, seeping into your self-esteem and eroding your confidence over time. You've likely encountered someone who seems to take pleasure in pointing out every flaw, every mistake, as if they were the self-appointed judge of your life. These are the people who, no matter what you do, always find a reason to criticize, belittle, to tear down. As Aristotle observed, criticism is something we can avoid easily by saying nothing, doing nothing, and being nothing. Yet the problem with constant critics is that they don't just attack your actions. They attack your very being. They create an environment where negativity thrives and positivity is suffocated. It's like trying to grow a garden in a perpetual storm. Nothing can flourish under such conditions. In Stoicism, we learn that external opinions should not dictate our inner peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When surrounded by constant criticism, it's easy to let those negative thoughts color your perception of yourself. But the Stoic challenge is to remain steadfast, to guard your mind against the influence of those who seek to bring you down. So how do you deal with someone who seems to have made criticism their personal mission? First, recognize the pattern. Understand that constant criticism is not about you. It's a reflection of the critic's own insecurities and need for control. Don't internalize their negativity. Instead, view it as a projection of their inner turmoil. Next, respond with clarity and composure. Simple, "Thank you for your feedback, but I'm confident in my approach," can go a long way in disarming a critic. It's about asserting your confidence without engaging in their negativity. Remember, you don't owe anyone an explanation for your choices, especially when their criticism is neither constructive nor invited. Finally, distance yourself from chronic critics if possible. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, who provide constructive feedback aimed at helping you grow, not tearing you down. As Epictetus advised, we should not look for an easy life, but a strong character. Strength comes from choosing your influences wisely, from surrounding yourself with those who build you up rather than break you down. By identifying the signs of constant criticism and learning how to respond effectively, you protect your self-esteem and maintain your peace of mind. Don't let the constant storm of negativity drench your spirit. Instead, stand firm, rooted in the knowledge that you are more than the sum of someone else's criticism. Remember, the only approval you truly need is your own, and that comes from knowing you are living in alignment with your values and purpose. Number 11. Lack of responsibility. Constant lack of responsibility is like a hidden rot in the structure of any relationship, slowly eroding trust and stability. Have you ever met someone who seems to have an excuse for every failure, who never seems to own up to their mistakes? These individuals move through life like slippery fish, evading accountability at every turn, leaving those around them to pick up the pieces. As the philosopher Heraclitus observed, character is destiny. A person who consistently avoids responsibility is not just avoiding blame. They are shaping a future where they remain stuck, unable to grow or improve. Imagine working with someone on a critical project, and every time something goes wrong, they point fingers, blame the tools, or even circumstances beyond their control. In the end, the project fails, and the trust within the team is shattered. This behavior is dangerous because it creates an environment of distrust. It's like trying to build a bridge with faulty materials. Eventually, it will collapse, and everyone involved will suffer the consequence. The Stoics teach us that true strength lies in taking ownership not just of our successes, but of our failures. Marcus Aurelius advised, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." When we avoid responsibility, we also avoid the opportunity to learn and grow from our mistakes. How do you recognize someone who consistently shirks responsibility? Look for the telltale signs: constant excuses, blame shifting, and an inability to acknowledge their own role in any problem. These are the people who, when faced with failure, immediately seek to deflect rather than reflect. They may even change the subject entirely when confronted, hoping to avoid the uncomfortable truth. But how do you deal with such behavior? First, it's crucial to set clear expectations and hold firm. Don't allow their excuses to derail progress. Insist on accountability. If they continue to evade, it may be necessary to limit your reliance on them, much like avoiding building on unstable ground. Second, focus on your own behavior. If you find yourself slipping into similar habits, remember that responsibility, like a muscle, strengthens with use. Each time you own up to a mistake, you build the foundation for a stronger character. Finally, surround yourself with those who value accountability as much as you do. As the Stoic Epictetus said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them." Choose to judge responsibility as a virtue, and align yourself with those who do the same. By doing so, you protect your own integrity and ensure that the structures you build in your life are strong, resilient, and capable of withstanding the challenges that will inevitably come. Recognizing and addressing a lack of responsibility isn't just about improving outcomes. It's about building a life based on trust, growth, and mutual respect. And in a world where blame is often easier than accountability, choosing responsibility sets you apart as a person of true character. Number 12. The pursuit of revenge or punishment. The pursuit of revenge or punishment is a toxic habit that can destroy lives, both the life of the one who seeks it and the one who is targeted. Have you ever met someone who simply cannot let go of even the smallest slight? They carry their grudges like a badge of honor, letting resentment fester until it consumes them. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Yet, those who obsess over payback believe that retribution is the only path to satisfaction. As if they're trapped in an endless loop, replaying the offense in their mind and concocting elaborate schemes to get even. This mindset, however, doesn't just harm others. It corrodes the soul of the person seeking vengeance, leaving them bitter and unhappy. Stoicism teaches us that our peace of mind is far too valuable to be sacrificed on the altar of revenge. Epictetus reminds us, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Those who pursue revenge are blinded by their desire for retribution, unable to see that they are the ones who suffer most from their action. How can you identify someone who is caught in this cycle of revenge? Look for the sign: a refusal to forgive, constant scheming, or subtle acts of sabotage. They may not always be overt in their actions, but their intent is clear. Harm must be met with harm. It's as if they carry a ledger, meticulously recording every slight and planning the perfect moment to strike back. So how do you deal with such behavior? First, recognize that their need for revenge is not about you. It's a reflection of their own unresolved issues. Don't engage in their game of tit for tat. Instead, rise above it. Maintain your composure and refuse to let their actions dictate your own. Second, set boundaries. If someone is intent on dragging you into their vendetta, it's crucial to protect yourself. Distance yourself from their negativity and focus on cultivating your own inner peace. As Seneca said, "He who does not prevent a crime when he can, encourages it." By refusing to be part of their cycle of revenge, you deny them the satisfaction they seek. Finally, lead by example. Show them that true strength lies in forgiveness, not in retribution. Let your actions demonstrate that you value your peace of mind over petty squabbles. In doing so, you may even inspire them to abandon their destructive path and seek a more peaceful way of living. Pursuit of revenge is a trap, one that ensnares the seeker more than the sought. By recognizing this behavior in others and refusing to participate in it, you protect your well-being and set a powerful example of what it means to live with dignity and grace. Remember, as Shakespeare wrote in The Tempest, the rarer action is in virtue than in vengeance. Choose virtue, and let your life be guided by wisdom rather than the poison of revenge. In a world filled with negativity, manipulation, and the pursuit of revenge, it's crucial to stand firm in your principle. By recognizing these toxic behaviors and choosing to rise above them, you not only protect your own peace, but also set an example of strength and integrity. Remember, true power lies not in retaliation, but in maintaining your inner calm. If you found value in this video, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below on how you handle these challenges, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Let's continue to grow together on this journey of Stoic wisdom.